Hello, everyone. This is John from AU Pack Mule, and today we're going to talk about Game of Thrones Season 8 with Manaro Geek TV. I know that's pretty epic topic. I think we've all seen about 100 videos on Season 8 and Q&As and all that. But today we're going to go ahead and get started with the Ginger Ale Queen. I don't really need to introduce you, but this is Manaro Geek TV. And Manaro, would you like to say hi to everybody?
What's good, everyone? Manaro here. Thank you, AU, for inviting me to come on and talk Game of Thrones with you. I hope everybody is doing good in the chats. Um, I probably won't be in the chats too much because I know there's a lot of conversations and sidebars that happen in the chats. And for those that don't know, my goal for this season is to remain as unsullied, meaning that I haven't seen any promotional, posters, teaser videos, anything, because I want to be able to go into the season blind. Because I did that last year and I found that I enjoyed the show a lot more that way. And so I don't I don't want to keep anybody from having those sidebar conversations because that's part of how these things work. So you probably won't see me in the chats too much. So don't think that I'm ignoring anyone just so that I just want to make sure that everybody is able to engage and have conversation.
Manero never ignores anyone. She's always glad to talk Game of Thrones with anyone. As a matter of fact, I think the last time we did live streams together, we talked about 12 hours for the three Baratheon brothers, which
Yeah.
is like an amazing amount of time for just one house for three characters. So this might go on for about a week if we're trying to cover the whole season, right?
Oh yes.
That was epic.
Especially since it's the last one, and it's been the most anticipated because we went a whole year without it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And in that time, everybody was probably thinking that Martin was going to drop the Winds of Winter, and probably the showrunners would have had time to kind of incorporate whatever it was that would have been in the book in this last season. But Martin, probably being petty, was like, nah.
Psych. Well, I wanted to say thank you for all the people that have come in to the live stream so far that are on the chat. If you guys don't know, if you hit the live chat, you'll probably see more of what's going on because it's going to be pretty wild today. We have High Velocity Savage. Thanks, my man, for being here. Mackenzie L. Burns. Katrin C. is here. T. Baby, my love. I appreciate you being here. Chrissy of Oldstone, the moderator of all moderators, and so many more. JD the Dragon is here. Bobby Canalano is here. Ion Trone is here, which I haven't seen Ion in a live stream for 100 years. It's been a minute, as they say. And then Bobby Catalano's here as well. OTDA, of course, is. I don't think I've been on a live stream without you, David. So it would be I'd be heartbroken if you weren't here. Thanks, bud. And then Bran, the sexy bearded builder, is here as well. So thanks for being here, buddy. If you guys are coming in later and you haven't hit the stream, make sure you hit that like button. I would really appreciate that so much. And just in case you don't know, the link for all of Monero's social media, her LinkTree is on there, her Instagram page, and also her YouTube channel. Make sure you check that out. Manaro is actually a book purist. I think you've read almost the whole book on your YouTube channel. And basically, if we go by that, we're still having Danny in Essos eating horse meat that Drogon cooked for her, and John is dead, and for all spoilers, by the way, not and Tyrion's still drunk over in Essos somewhere.
He's still in Essos. Actually, yeah, he has just actually sided with I believe it's the second the Second Sons, I want to say. It's either the Second Sons or whichever um
Yeah, it's
company,
a golden company. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's who he's with at the moment.
Which is interesting because we're going to see them this year. So, oh, Nancy T popped in. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Alicia Kingston is here as well. The trio, right?
Mad Queens represent.
No kidding. Love it. So this is probably a big surprise for you to go into this season knowing that so much has changed since the last part of the books, right?
So, well, when last season came on and John was resurrected, I think it's been widely speculated within the fandom that John will be resurrected. Whether or not he will have the same characteristics when he is resurrected is what's a point of question, because the examples that we have before is Beric Dondarrion. Beric Dondarrion was the precedent for what happens when somebody is resurrected. And he was resurrected, I believe, like 6 times until he gave up his last life to Catelyn, aka Lady Stoneheart. So
the best
that
mother
is
in the
what we
world.
have. Yeah, so that's what we have as an example of what happens when somebody is resurrected through Rolor. And being that Melisandre is at the wall at the moment, she will more than likely, as it's showed in the show, will be the one to be the catalyst for John being resurrected. So going into that and then seeing that all the other different interactions that take place from last season and how they're gonna go into this season, I I'm excited to see the direction that the showrunners are gonna take with it, because we all know that a lot of people are probably gonna end up dying, which I'm excited for. I know that sounds real morbid to say, but it's really.
I want them bitches dead.
I mean, in my mind, it's like everybody's gonna die. Everybody's just gonna die. You know what I mean? Just if you have a fave, more than likely that fave is gonna die, except for Sansa.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. We'll go house to house, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Who's going to live and who's going to die? Let's start with probably our least favorite house, the Lannisters. Except for David. My blessings to Fandom D Saint, my brother. I'm so sorry. And AirTouch Altanos, who's the best artist in the world.
Yes, I know their team Lannister. Shout out to Fandom and to AirTouch. I know that they are fans, but you know, if we go by, again, I'm gonna just jump back to the books, and I'm sure that D&D are aware of the prophecy as told by Maggie the Frog, that Cersei, we know definitely is gonna bite it. You know what I mean? We just, but there's just a lot of different theories out there about who it is that's gonna finish her off.
Well, remember what's prophecy they say about prophecy,
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. So, it'll come back and bite you in the butt. Yes. But
something like that.
Yeah, but I think that she will die, but I don't know if she's going to die in the manner that we speculate that she's going to die. It might be something that it might come about in a way that none of us would have foreseen. That's why everybody is speculating. Like, everybody speculate who the Valonqar is. There's speculation that it's going to be Tyrion. There's speculation that it's going to be Jaime. There's speculation that'll be Arya wearing the face of Jaime. Or there's speculation that it might be the Mountain. There's speculation that it might be Stannis. It might be. I mean, there's so many Valonqars.
We all want to kill her, I think, is the problem.
There's so many Valonqars, right? Everybody wants her to die, and there's so many different speculation about how she's gonna die.
Can I ask, not to interrupt you, but can I ask, in regards to reading the books, did you ever think she would live this long?
No. I thought she would have died by Feast for Crows, because Feast for Crows is where we really get to know Cersei. If you've For those that aren't aware, Cersei is pretty much uh, Cersei and Brienne are pretty much Cersei, Brienne, and Jamie, I should say, are pretty much Feast for Crows. We get point of view character chapters from those three main. They are the three main characters in A Feast for Crows, with other people sprinkled in, because that's where we get insight into House Martell is in Feast for Crows. We get I think a couple of characters from Arya. We get
Nancy,
oh,
stop that. That is that is so that is so amazing. I just I'm I'm overwhelmed by gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's very nice of you. Nancy T, $20 super chat. So happy you have super chat. Long overdue. Team
yes.
Gendry. Team Gendry is right. So yeah, we got to be hammer time. Absolutely. Sorry,
So
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Thank you
no, no,
very
no,
much.
no.
It
Please,
was
please.
so.
Always give a shout out and thank you, because
Mm,
that is a very generous and
mhm.
very heartwarming thing when somebody supports you in
It's
that
so
manner.
genuine too. I know she means it's, in her heart. So
Mhm. So yeah, I I know she's gonna go. Now Jamie, um
not Nancy, but no, just
no, Nancy's not going anywhere.
yeah.
But Cersei, on the other hand, I do believe she's gonna go. I do believe she'll, but how she's gonna go, there's, it's it's really up to. Well, let me preface before I finish that comment. Let me preface it by saying I'm not really a tinfoil type of person, and I don't really do like theories and stuff like that. I'm a person. I'm very linear. I just read the book and I just enjoy it, and I speculate with my level of speculation goes as far as I wonder what will happen next. That's as far as it goes. I don't go into, well, I think this will happen. I don't get too deep into the weeds, because that's my brain is way too linear. But I'm always open to hearing how other people process a lot of the hidden gems that are in the books, because it kind of gives you food for thought. With that said, um, with respect to Jamie, um, a lot would lead to him not surviving, especially where he is left off, where we leave him off in the books. But according to the show, he is somebody that's obviously must get past that point. But how much further does his storyline? Because in the books, he's in on a redemption arc, like so many other characters. And how does his redemption arc end? So if we go by the theory that he is the Valonqar, the redemption arc will end with him and Cersei dying together. Um, if we don't go by that redemption arc, the other thing would be that him and Brienne will die together, because where they left off in the books, they're getting ready to go to where Lady Stoneheart is, along with where all of the rest of the Brotherhood Without Banners are.
Yeah, because
So,
Brienne's hanging, so
right.
not to change
So,
the subject because they're not together, but
right.
High
So,
Velocity Savage is back. Thanks for coming back, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for coming in. Sorry, go ahead,
no,
Monero. We've got your opinion is Cersei's going.
yes, she's
Jamie
out.
has got to be out, right?
She's out.
Tyrion. Let's get to the short guy.
Tyrion, I don't see him dying, but I wouldn't be surprised if he dies. I don't see him dying because I think um right now he's dealing with a lot of aggression. You know what I mean? Because he's been so hurt and stuff. But if we follow what the show has put out, um, he meets Danny. Now, if he actually meets Danny in the books, which is probably the possibility that he will,
Hmm.
um, it could be that their relationship may play out the same way that it played out on the show. which would mean that there may be some longevity for him, unless, you know, the part that Tyrion played on the show is actually going to be played by somebody else in the books, because again, the show condenses a lot of characters into one person. So, and since they already had the Tyrion character on the show, it would make sense to use him, you know, optimize his use on the show. I don't know if that will also translate in the books. Because to me, I don't see the Danny character in the books, I don't see her being that open to having Tyrion in her circle, because Tyrion's family, for all intent and purposes, you know, it was his brother that killed her dad, even though it was for a good reason. But Danny, to me, in the books, doesn't have doesn't have the level of maturity to like have that understanding, because to her it'll just seem like, you know, you killed my father, so you're my enemy. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that she doesn't have a heart. It just means that, you know, she's gonna probably take it personal.
And you
And
don't think the fact that he killed Tywin has anything to do with her decision to bring him in as a counselor, much less the hand?
well, on the show, I think I think on in the show, from what I observed, she is they have to move the storyline, and so I think they had to um, get her to a point where she would have to just, you know, put that to the side for the, you know, for the to, you know, like an eye on the prize type of deal. The prize is Westeros, and so in order for her to get to Westeros, she's gonna need some people who know the lay of the land. And Tyrion, who is incredibly smart and incredibly, you know, savvy in the political game, you know, is an asset to her. You know what I mean? He's an asset to her. Now, um, so is, you know, Varys. Varys is an asset to her on the show. You know, he ends up being a true asset to her. Um, and the and the other difference that I, you know, I don't want to get too much into book versus
Show,
show.
right.
Um, in the books, we also have to understand that the part that Danny being in Westeros now is a lot sooner, because in the books it's actually Aegon that lands, and when Aegon lands, he's landing with he has the Golden Company with him. You know what I mean? And they've already taken Storm's End, Griffin's Roost, um, the Tarth. You know, they've already secured a lot of those. You know that
Stormlands. Hmm.
yeah, you know, they've already secured that. So and the the idea is that he will eventually take King's Landing,
Sure.
and that will all happen before Danny gets to Westeros. But in the show, she is taking on that character. They've kind of had to like finagle the timeline and the stories a little bit, because in the show, the Golden Company is coming by way of the, you know, Tychos, from the Bank of Bravos. It's not and they're coming to support Cersei. So there's I'm interested to see how they're gonna play that storyline, to have the Golden Company fight for Cersei, against, you know, everybody else. I wonder how they're gonna play that, because that's not how that's gonna work on the show. But anyway, I'm getting off in a tangent.
Yeah,
But
that's okay.
Tyrion,
That's why we have you.
but Tyrion, I honestly, personally, I don't see him dying. I don't think he's gonna die. But if he does, I would not be surprised. And the only reason why, and I'm strictly talking on the show, the reason why I wouldn't be surprised, because when you look at how the season ended and what's getting ready to happen, what is going to get ready to come down on Winterfell, um, and and we're going to have all the players, are pretty much all the major players are going to be at Winterfell. Um, you know, his survival rate is pretty slim, you know, because he's a, you know, he's a little guy, so Her survival is probably going to be pretty slim. And I'm just speaking on the show, unless by some miracle he ends up, you know, getting on a dragon and flying off somewhere. Which I know T Baby doesn't think that he can get on a dragon because his legs are too short.
That's an interesting question. Carol Funk asked in the books about Ariane Martell, and she's one of the characters that I think we all miss from the show, you know, to the show. Do you think she will try to marry Aegon?
I think so, because remember the Doran original idea was to marry Ariane to Viserys, and Tristan, I believe, was supposed to be married to Dany. And so that didn't fall through. And then he sent Quentin. He sent his son. I think it was Quentin. I'm forgetting names. When he sent Quentin to
Barbecue Boy.
Yeah, when he sent him to I don't know what he was thinking, yo. I have no idea why he thought in his brain that he could tame a dragon. Like,
teenage testosterone. That's all I can say.
No idea what he was thinking in his brain. But yeah, when he sent her, I think he sent him with the idea that yes, you are going to marry Dany. It just didn't work out. So I think Ariane is going to be like, well, since I could marry Viserys, the next best thing would be to marry Aegon, because Aegon, for as far as anybody else knows, that is Aegon. That is the Aegon. That is the son of Rhaegar, which would be the true heir to the. Well, I don't know. I don't truly believe him to be the heir to the throne, because his family lost power. So in order for him to he wouldn't be actually getting the throne because it's his right to have it.
He would have to establish himself
by right of conquest, just like his ancestor did, Aegon Targaryen did. That's how he got Westeros, by right of conquest.
Makes sense.
If he were to get the throne, it would be the same. To me, that's how it would translate to me. It would be by right of conquest. It wouldn't be because you're a Targaryen and the throne is automatically yours. Your family lost that power. So,
sorry. Let's go back to the Lannisters in Tyrion. Did you say probably not gonna make it?
In the show, there's a slim chance. I think there's a slim chance that he survives. If he does,
shady, huh?
Great. But great. I don't know how great that would be, but great. But I don't know. Again, it's just based on how the season ended and how I'm kind of like envisioning that things are probably going to play out, because when I mean, the Night King has a dragon, dude, and they done decimated the wall, and he has a horde of whites. And Winterfell is not that far from the wall. So, and then you have Dany, who's getting ready. Dany and her crew are coming to Winterfell. It's going to be interesting to see. Me personally, I think like a whole bunch of people are just going to die. They're just not going to make. I don't foresee them making it. I don't foresee them making it. And it's probably usually the person that you would least expect to survive is probably going to be the person to survive. Jorah Mormont. Shout out to you.
Oh, wow. We weren't even going there on this stream. The Mormonts. Wow. So, yeah, personally, I think Tyrion's going to be helping write the book with the Sam and Bran, just because of the point of views that are in the books can only come from those three, in my opinion. But at any rate, let's go to the Greyjoys, because they are so much fun, aren't they?
The Greyjoy. Well, I have to say, I truly enjoy the Greyjoy character. I mean, when I first did my first reading of the books, the Greyjoys didn't really stand out to me as much. I mean, they were there, but to me, they
Well, they
were
weren't
just
really introduced until the second
right.
book. So, yeah.
So, but upon rereading and upon hearing, different people talk about the Greyjoys, so when I went back to reread, I really gained a new appreciation for all of the Greyjoys, Theon, Yara, um, is it Asha? I should say. I can't remember now because I'm mixing the
They're
two.
both the same. It's the same.
Uh, Arian, Euron. Um, I have gained a new appreciation for them. So on in the show, I don't see Theon surviving. I don't see Theon surviving. I But if he were to survive, um, it would make sense to me in the show. And the reason why it would make sense to me is because I think there has to be at least one Greyjoy standing to be able to um, be part of whatever. Because in my mind, I think there's going to be some sort of a coalition, some sort of end day coalition where they're going to do away with this, do away with um, uh, uh, a monarchy. You know what I mean? I think they're going to come together and work together as a whole. So in the show, it would if he lives, it would make sense to me. But I again, he when we left off in the show last season, he's getting ready to go rescue his sister, and I think that they are gonna make it out. I do believe he will rescue his sister, and I think they're gonna do away with their uncle. You know, in the show, I think
Hmm.
they're gonna do
Hmm.
away with their uncle in the show, and then they're gonna try to make their way back. Um, will they make their way back in time to be there for the action of the others? I don't know. But if they do, um, one of them has to go. I don't think the both of them can survive. It wouldn't make, it really wouldn't, in my brain, it wouldn't make sense for both of them to survive. Um, it might be that, Theon risking, his life to go and save Yara. Yara might in turn risk her life to save Theon. Um, so we could see how that play out. But I think they're Euron is going to be out for sure. Um, Yara, I believe it would make sense for her to go, and go heroically, because I don't see her going down, you know, unless she's broken by the time that Theon gets to her, because she is playing the part of Aaron in the books, uh, because in the books Euron actually has Aaron prisoner. So,
Not
um,
Victorian.
right, no, not Victorian, because
Okay.
Victorian is actually in Marine and he is actually on the ships when their battle is going on with that Barristan Selmy has gone out to meet all of the Yunkai. So that battle is going on on the other side in Essos. So that's where Victorian is. So and I don't believe Victorian's character was ever introduced on the show, not that I remember.
I wanted to say hello to some latecomers. Terry T is here. Peter Griffin is here. And none other than Plexi Bertrand is here, who we haven't seen in forever. The rule of the live stream for Plexi is no message retracts. She is the queen of retracting messages. So we cannot have that in this stream. So we love your content and your participation, Plexi. So thanks for being here. So basically, who's going to live in House Greyjoy? Because we really haven't touched on any single character. So I just want to do a brief, like, you're
I'm
on.
I'm gonna say Theon.
Theon will
I'm gonna say
live.
Theon lives.
Okay. The rest are gone. Cool. I like that. We're gonna go to House Tarth because Plexi asked if Brienne was gonna end up with um
Tormund?
Tormund or Jamie, and I suggested neither. Because she is the maiden of the way they show her in the show. Obviously, she's the beautiful Gwendolyn Christie, but in the books, not so
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
So
she's not attractive in the books at all,
so
except for her,
I'm gonna
except for her
ask
blue
you,
eyes.
except for what?
Except for her blue eyes.
Blue.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
yes,
Jamie like
sparkling.
gets lost in.
I'm sorry, I can't with Jamie. Um, so does she live, die, or does she end up with either of those characters?
Um, hmm. That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. That's why I ask it. That's why Plexi
Now, me
brought it up.
personally, I would like to see her die in the show,
Mm,
and let me explain why. Um, everybody has like a crutch in the show, and Brienne right now is currently Sansa's crutch. You know what
okay.
I mean?
No,
Um, and what I mean by her crutch is she's brave because she has
Brienne to
right now
protect her.
She has Brienne, and now she has her sister Arya. You know what I mean? Like she can do her political maneuvering, but she has muscle behind her to kind of support that if she needs it. Um Now, me personally, I think Sansa will be amongst the survivors. Um but Brienne probably, it may come at the cost of Brienne. So I don't see Brienne surviving. Um, I don't see her surviving. If she does survive, it has to be because she is representing another character, which I don't know who that other character would be. You know what I mean? But to me, it would make sense for her to die. You know what I mean? It wouldn't make sense for her to continue to live because as far as I'm concerned in the show, she has achieved what her goal was, which was to um, serve the daughters of Catelyn Stark. And so she's achieved that um, on the show. So I don't know what more her character has to offer in the show. So it wouldn't make sense to me for her to continue to live because it's not like she's a political character. She has no she's not mixed up in any of the intrigue per se. I mean, because most of her arc on the show was, trying to find these girls and protect them. And so she achieved that in a sense last season. So right now, all we need to see her is all we're probably gonna get is watch her fight and go down fighting.
I just don't see her dying just because of the romance with the Duncan eggs, the tie-in. I just see George wanting that to be portrayed. Plus, I think it's important that there is a female on the Queen's Guard, if you will, which I think is going to happen. So,
Right, that's why I said the only reason why I think she would survive is if she is representing another character. I don't and I could see your point. I could see your point in that regard. But my thing is, there's just I guess once I watch the show unfold, maybe
mhm.
it would make a little bit more sense to me because the again, I just keep going by how the show ended and what is getting ready to come down. on Winterfell and how, I mean, I don't know how prepared they are, and only very few of them are fighter, can really fight. And if it's a matter of survival and protecting,
They
very
got
few.
Lyanna, a Mormont on their side. They don't need protection. They're
Yeah,
just gonna have that little pit bull on their side, and
woo.
she's gonna chew through everybody. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. So yeah, I just honestly, I just think because she's a OP kind of a warrior queen,
Hmm.
shield maiden, however you want to put it, George is going to want to keep that stereotype broken, if you will.
Well, if you
And
were
that's
if you were to say that in the books, in the books, I think there's a strong
well, we'll talk about that
possibility.
when the books come out, because I think we've got another couple of years before that's going to be
Right.
in ink. Would you agree
Well, this is my theory
with the
from
books?
somebody who doesn't do theories, right? This is
Hmm.
on the book. This is my theory. I think that probably George will drop the Winds of Winter after this whole show thing is done,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
then the show would have been done. There won't be any back and forth. There won't be any, you know what I mean? There won't be any mixing of the pots,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. So the because I believe he said it himself that the show is the show and the books are the books. So, and I think a lot of people are looking for so many similarities, especially if you're someone who's read the books and watched the show. You look for similarities, and I think a lot of people who've read the books are not really big. Some of them are not very big fans of the show, but I don't count myself in that, because I I go by what George Martin said. The books are the books, the show is the show.
Terry
I
said
don't
it.
think.
Terry T said it best in the chat. She says GRRM is basically he'll be taking his story back, and
Yeah,
I and
pretty
I
much.
and I definitely agree. That's a great
Yeah,
sentiment.
yeah. So
Um, Winds,
I
I think
think
will drop right away. Not to
yeah.
change the subject, but Dream will be another 3 years probably before we finish
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
But I think he's already working on Dream right now, and that's what one of the things that you'll see that is a big surprise, not to me, but to most people, that Winds will drop right away.
Yeah. I think when they had already, when there was this big speculation that it was supposed to drop back in 2000, was it 2017? I think it was.
Hmm.
Back when season 6, and it didn't actually drop, because there were some people saying though that you could pre-order it on Amazon, but that actually didn't happen. I To me personally, I think that makes more sense to me. I wouldn't put the books out until the show is over, because I don't, the mixing of the
Because the show
pots.
watchers aren't going to buy the book if they're not
No,
book readers already.
no,
So yeah, I agree.
no. So it wouldn't make any sense.
Yep.
I mean, I think it makes perfect sense for him to wait until the show is over and that is all done. And then for those of us that are into the books, we won't have to kind of split our time between the show and the books. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think George would have started the new series, the prequel, if he
Right.
hadn't already gotten Dream pretty much finished.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so you think Brienne is a goner? No happy wildling babies, no
If
Lannister
I
cubs.
I don't see her with, I mean, I know Tormund has like the googly eyes for her, but she has
Hmm.
googly eyes for Jamie,
Hmm.
because I think that's where her heart is. I would
I
love
think
to
she
see
just likes
them.
the sexy guys like Renly and Jamie. Yeah.
Well, well, Tormund is an
let's
acquired
let's
taste.
yeah, let's put it this way. His character, I mean his actor is sexy, not
Oh,
the
very much
character.
so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Nobody
a
wants a
very
guy
handsome
that'll
ginger.
crawl inside the guts of a giant or sleep with a bear. Nobody wants that, right?
So yeah, but I could see, I would really like for her and Jamie to see each other again, at least one last time. I don't know if that will happen in on the show, but it would be nice to see because I don't know. I felt like their last meeting was a little bit lackluster for me on the show. It didn't. It was lackluster for me.
Hmm.
For me, I felt like it there should have been more there. But I guess like I said, time they can only do but so much. So most people probably say, at least they saw each other. But I'm hoping that maybe they do have a second meeting this time around, and that this time around there's a little bit more depth in their meeting. You know what I mean? Or maybe there might be things that were left unsaid will be said, and then they can both have their sense of closure um,
Hmm.
for both characters before they either they bite it or they go off to go do whatever it is that they got to go do.
Exactly. So, since we talked about Tormund for just a minute, is there going to be any wildlings that are going to be alive that we know in the show? Just the show.
Mm, just the show. Well, the only wildlings I know on the show are Tormund is the only one that stands out to me on the show. I mean, I do see the other wildlings, but I don't know who they are. I don't know who they're representing. To be honest with you, Tormund is the only one that I know by name on the show, but I do know they do. I do know that they have the other wildling characters. Now, mind you, um, most of those wildlings were at the wall on
Right.
the show when the wall came down, as well as Beric Dondarrion, because Beric Dondarrion stayed behind. So we watched them trying to escape when the wall was coming down, but we don't know what their actual fate was. And when we saw the horde of whites coming through, my thing is they're probably hiding out somewhere.
Hmm.
But and if they are hiding out somewhere, are they gonna have them take the the little finger time TARDIS to get to Winterfell in some way?
TARDIS.
Yeah, well, he doesn't need it
They're
anymore.
going to take a zip line from the wall to Winterfell. Yeah.
I
It's a
don't know.
new ride at Disneyland.
I don't know if they're gonna be able to how if that's what the show is gonna do, but somehow get most of those guys that survive that invasion, have them get to Winterfell to kind of warn them to let them know what's coming.
Hmm.
Um, I wouldn't imagine they would be able to send a raven. So, uh, hmm. Tormund for me is a question mark. I can see the show somehow have him like pop up at Winterfell and say like, "Yo, this dude got a dragon and it
Well,
broke."
he survived in the show from the attack at Eastwatch by the Sea. So I think him and Beric are going to be walking on the top of the mount of the wall back towards Castle Black. That would be my guess, but what do I know?
It could very well be, but I'm yeah.
Oh,
So
that's a great point. Terry Tease brings up Gilly. Of course, she's going to live, right? I mean, she's.
I think her baby lives.
Oh, okay.
I think her baby will live. Whether she lives, I mean,
All the
because
White Walkers are dead. Everybody's happy in their little castles, and then all of a sudden, Gilly's baby eyes turn blue, right?
I mean,
And the story begins.
that baby has a part to play in
Yeah.
this story. Um, somehow in this story, I think that baby has a part to play, whether for ill or good. I don't know,
Hmm.
but I don't know what significance Gilly would have if she were to live. I mean, what would be her significance? Because I
Because
don't see
she's
Sam.
she's
I don't see Sam
Sam's
living.
wife, or yeah. I mean, you got to have a woman. Sam needs her.
But I don't see Sam living. I don't
Oh, we
see
didn't get
Sam
there.
living.
Okay, we did. Yeah, sorry, I messed that up, didn't I? Before we get to Sam, though, I do want to talk about Sam because I think he's super important to the
Yeah.
end story. Can we just eliminate all of Dorne
Yes.
Martells,
Yeah.
Danes,
Yes.
anybody else that happened to like sand, all
Yeah.
those people, all gone.
They're all done. They're all toast.
Not going to get any Danes, right? No secret Danes hiding at Howland Reed's place. Okay.
No, I
All
don't.
right.
No. Mm-mm. I don't think the show is even gonna touch it.
All right. Tully's. We're going to get any Tullys? Edmure, I think, is the only one that's
The uncle, because the
Blackfish.
uncle was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
At the
You think
time.
we were reported he's dead, but
Well, Brendan is dead, but um, what's his name? Brendan is dead.
Edmure, you mean?
Edmure was
Okay.
still alive
Mm-hmm.
because Edmure had let the Freys into the castle, so he's still alive. But they didn't really tie that off very neatly,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, because yeah, he let them into the castle. I know in the books he's supposed to be a prisoner over in an honored prisoner over at Castle Rock. They didn't really say what his fate would have been, what his fate is supposed to be in the on the show. And even after Arya makes it back to Westeros and like kills off the rest of the Freys, um there was no they didn't make any reference to maybe she knew her uncle was there, or there's like no references made. So I'm like, I don't know what this I don't know what this I don't know if the show is just gonna just leave that out up in the air and just not worry about it and just hope that nobody really cares or notices.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see either one of them in the show this year.
So if that's the case, then no Tullys.
No Tullys.
No
Yeah, I
Tullys.
think it's just because the actors have done so well in other parts that they're going to be used in something else, and they're not going to be available, and then it's going to be, especially with Edmure.
Yo,
I think he's
Edmure is like in everything. Like he's
mhm.
like in almost every other show.
Yeah, and he's great. So I have no problem with him not being, available. And I don't want them to do what they did with the Mountain and replace him with somebody else. So I think it's much easier if they eliminated him. Blackfish, on the other hand, could be one of the people that are at Winterfell. I don't
I
know.
think he's dead. I think they killed him off that when he helped Brienne escape. I think
Hmm.
they just killed him off. They killed his character off.
Makes sense. Peter Griffin actually had a great comment in regards to Gilly, and he said if Sam really cared for her, he would keep little Sam and Gilly way south. But you've got to remember, Sam, as much as a great character is, he's pretty much a coward when it comes to not being brave enough to go through that whole trek up to Winterfell by himself. He really needs Gilly or someone else that's supportive, like John was to him. And it doesn't have to be, someone that he has sex with. It's just someone that is
Right.
super supportive of his endeavor. And as much as he would have wanted to go to Winterfell, if Gilly was like, "Oh no, I'm not going up there. I'll stay here," I don't think he would have gone. But that's a great point. He definitely would have wanted to keep her safe, but you've got to remember, with he doesn't know that his dad's dead and his brother's dead, so he would have obviously brought her back to Hardhome if that's what he would have, if he really thought about it or if he knew about it. So
He
um
probably thought that by taking her to Winterfell, that probably would have been the safest place for her to be
mhm.
anyway, because it's where his best
It's
friend
where
is.
his pink mast is.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Misty 306 asks, the actor who plays Edmure Tully might be back because his role in the Outlander ended, which is true, but he is in a bunch of other shows. So that's why his appearance in Game of Thrones was so short. Exactly. And
well, they
I
might
don't know
make
if you've
him do a
seen.
cam. He might do a cameo. I mean, they've only got like 6 episodes, so
Mhm, mhm.
he might do a cameo, like a 20-30 minute cameo, just to tie that loose end. I mean, because his cameo in that last season was what over. Was it just one episode, or it was just that one episode, right? I'm
As
trying to
far as
remember.
Edmure being in the show,
Yeah, last time. I think
I
it
thought
was.
it was 2, but
Oh, yeah, you're
yeah.
right. It was 2 episodes. It was my bad.
Fandom D Saint just popped in. Thanks for being here. We already talked about you, my friend. And since you came in late, I don't know how long we've been on, but we'll start over. Hi, Manaro. How's it going? Say
I'm
hi to
good. How are
Fandom.
you? What's up? What's up, David?
We've already talked about Cersei dying a million deaths. We said that everybody was going to get a shot at choking her to death, including me and Manaro. So yeah.
I might have to smack her a few times
Yeah.
before I,
Oh,
go in for the kill.
I don't know that dance too well, but you know what I'm saying. That's a different snacking. So we've got the Tullys. Maybe a slight chance of Edmure showing up, but other than that, you think Blackfish is gone and
Yeah,
all the rest of them are gone.
yeah.
Hmm. Any no family characters that you think will live, like Varys, for example? Plexi asked about him earlier.
I think he's gonna die because if you remember on the show when he met briefly with Melisandre, she made the ominous statement that the both of them were gonna die in Westeros, even though she was leaving to go to she was leaving Westeros, but she said she made the ominous statement that they both were gonna die in Westeros. Um, which would make sense. I think that makes sense. Now, how he dies is a whole different beast. Now, um, because in my brain, I think most people are gonna die death by white.
Oh
that's where
yeah, yeah.
that's where most of the deaths are gonna happen is death by white. Because I think those whites are like roaches, man. They get everywhere. They just like and they're like they have a very swarm mentality. So yeah, I don't see Varys making it. I don't see Masande. Oh, you said non-house, right?
Yeah, yeah.
She's not a house. She's not
Nope.
in a house. I don't see Masande surviving. Um uh I don't see Gray Grey Worm. I'm kind of up in the air about. I would not be surprised if he's dead. If he dies, I should say. I wouldn't be surprised if he dies, but if he lives, yay. But I don't see Masande making it. I think she's gonna be death by white too. Because I don't see her and Grey Worm being in close proximity to each other because on the show, Grey Worm is still south. And I don't know if he's still south because of the fact that him and his crew and him and his Unsullied may end up fighting the Golden Company that Cersei is getting ready to bring over to Westeros because they have to have there has to be somebody for them to fight. And since they're already down there, it would make sense to me for them to be the ones that they fight. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I think, like you said, we know that the White Walkers are going to kill a bunch of people, and they're not all going to be red shirted Star Trek guys. They're going to be some main
Right.
characters, and with all of the warriors engaging in battle, there's no way that they're all going to live. Even
Right.
last year, we got a lot of the characters that went north to get the white still alive, which shocked me. I thought we would definitely lose Tormund and Barrick and
The Hound.
maybe even Jorah.
No, Jorah had to live because the show know how much that T Baby hates Jorah because of the fact that he loves to touch everything, and they were like, just so that
Hashtag stop touching shit.
I think
Oh
the
my god.
showrunners were like, let's just let him live because T Baby, maybe we can just bring her around, so we're just gonna let him live just so that maybe we can see if we can convince her that he's not as bad as she thinks. Hashtag Jorah's life matters.
Oh, speaking of non-house characters, Dario, I know it's his last name is Naharis, but he's not really a house guy. What do you think, Dario? Is he going to come back with the Golden Company and ride the elephant, as they say?
They might. You know what? That might be a possibility because it would be in his brain. It probably would be an opportunity for him to see Danny again. So I wouldn't be surprised if he were to join the go because he was a sellsword. I mean, he is a sellsword, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wouldn't be too far off for the Golden Company to hire just, I think he was the part of the Stormcrows, I believe, was his sellsword company.
In the book, you mean?
Yeah. So it wouldn't be too far off for them.
He was the second sons, wasn't he?
Was he? No,
yeah,
I think
with the Titan's bastard.
Was he on the show?
Oh, on the yeah, definitely on the show. Yeah, because he met with the problem that confuses you is that the actor changed.
Okay.
So, but he was with
the Stormcrows. Okay, so it wouldn't be too far off for them to hire a secondary sellsword company. Right, in order to come and help them, to come to Westeros and help. So the Golden Company coming makes a lot of sense because those are the remnants of all the people that were exiled. So it makes perfect sense for them to come. And I'm curious as to which characters of the second sons they're gonna bring. They're gonna like showcase on the show. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Look who just got here, Laving Shadow. Lav. Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Thanks for coming. That's awesome. Not to change the subject, but Connie Super said she thinks it's the Stormcrows too. And Reese is the smartest guy in the world. He agrees with me that it's the second son. So it's we're probably both wrong, and it's somebody else. But
you know what? Yeah. I have to, then that means I have to do a book check. Well, you know what? Let me not do a book check because of the blending of characters on the show, it could very well be on the show that it wasn't the Stormcrows because the Stormcrows wasn't really a huge. It didn't really have a huge role, I guess, in the Marine storyline. So, and the second sons are way more popular. So it could very well be that on the show, it probably just made more sense for them to put him in the second sons. So because I don't want to blend or confuse the books. And
Ian Trone says it's going to be the Funko Crows. Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my. So Plexi, who is like the smartest person I know, said in season 7, Cersei said that Euron was going to get the Golden Company, which is true. That is very true. So I'm assuming that that's what is going to happen. Dario will come back, riding the elephant with the Golden Company. Mm-hmm.
Having a what was that guy in history,
Alexander the Great?
No, the Carthaginian, the Carthaginian guy. Oh man, I forgot.
Oh, that's right. He went against Alexander the Great with riding the elephants, right?
Yeah, I forgot what his name is.
Me too. Yeah. Slips my mind. Plexi will know. Plexi will definitely know. But yes, I think that's how that's going to happen. I definitely think Dario will die.
Oh yeah, he's not going to live.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him. My thing again, that's the thing. I wonder if they're going to have two battles happening at the same time, which, it could very well be, because if you're going to have the Golden Company come over to Westeros, there has to be somebody for them to engage. And you have the Unsullied who are still down there, and you also still have some of the
See, I told you Plexi would know. It's Hannibal.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Of course it's Hannibal.
Yes.
Attila was a horse or horseman.
Yeah.
But Hannibal was definitely the.
Yeah, Hannibal was the one that he crossed the Alps with the
Mhm.
elephants, and I think only like one or two elephants survived, if I remember my history. Could very be I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, because they slaughtered the horses, and the elephants didn't like the smell of the horse blood. So yeah. Anyways, sorry, totally off
oh,
guard.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna do that to you, AU. I'm so sorry. I will have you like go in all kinds of
You don't
different
have to
directions.
apologize. We love it. We definitely like making those left turns, especially with history, because it's so much part of the show that it's what makes it
Well,
great.
he does.
So
He does take from different things of history to kind of interject in the show. So
Linda R is here. Thanks for coming by, Samurai Girl. Definitely um, appreciate you coming in. Thanks for dropping by. That is awesome. So many great people here today. I mean, it's been amazing. I don't know. I actually don't even see how many people are here, but I do know that there's quite a few. And if you don't mind hitting that like button, I would really appreciate it. Definitely enjoying the stream with Manaro Geek TV, talking about season 8 Game of Thrones, of course, and breaking down each family and who's going to live, who's going to die, and then who's going to be doing something weird. Um, Speaking of weird, which character is going to be a white that is probably the most shocking to you? And I say shocking meaning any interpretation of that you want.
you know what would be shocking? If Arya were to become a white. I think that would be shocking. I think that would shock a lot of people. Um, but it would make such good television because then if she was a white, then John definitely would have to be the one to kill her. And I think
You just broke my heart.
I know I'm probably
Oh,
breaking a lot of people's
she's gonna
hearts.
die, become a white, and then John's gonna kill her. Oh man.
You know what I mean?
Ooh.
I think the whole I think that playing out on the screen would be I think it would be awesome. I think it would tug on a lot of people. It would just because they are the faves of a lot of people. Like Arya and John are faves. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? One of the top faves in the show fandom. So
Well,
or in the fandom
there is
period.
a third shocking moment that we haven't seen that they warned us about. There's three things, obviously Hodor, Shireen, and one other. So
Yeah.
interesting.
You know, Arya dying and becoming a white, I think would be heart wrenching for a lot of people because first of all, nobody wants her to die.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants her to live. Um, I think she's there you're gonna see the reunion of her and her brother, which is probably gonna be pulling at everybody's
Super feels.
heartstrings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Everybody's gonna get the feels, and how much more devastating would it be for her to become a white and for her brother to have to be the one to kill her, face her and kill her?
That's like Ned dying and the Red Wedding all in one episode.
I
Like, bam.
yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
It would be like it would send shockwaves.
The outrage in the chat is amazing. These guys, they have their little knives out. They're like, no, Monero, no.
I'm just telling you what would make really good television. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but you asked me shock. That would be very shocking. I don't think anybody would be like really prepared to see that because it would be um you go through the whole season, you go through all of these seasons wanting these two people to reunite and they finally do and
Yep.
then that happens. I
Psych.
mean, you don't get no more shocking than that.
Yeah, Linda R says GRM would risk it. Lav obviously says that George R. R. Martin would have to be divorced because his wife's favorite character is Arya, and I agree with both of you. They George would risk it. Yep.
He would. He
He's like,
would.
honey, this is the greatest way to end the story.
Yes.
Not.
Yes. Because and the only reason why I say that is because to me the perfect ending for Arya would be for her to warg into Nymeria and live a second life.
Hmm.
That would be, to me, um, a perfect ending for Arya. But since Nymeria is not around, they only let her see her for like, 2 seconds on the show, and then they went their separate ways. Um, the only other ending I can see for Arya is, you know, well, that's not the only ending I could see for her, but if I were to think about a shocking moment, to me that would be like the most devastating thing I could think of could happen on the show that would really affect a lot of people. I mean, I think it would really, really like there would be like videos upon videos upon videos on YouTube about how messed up that is.
That's needless to say. I couldn't agree with you more. Um, yeah, that would be the most epic bad decision ever made.
And
Um,
D&D, if you use that, you're welcome.
so is there any other house that you want to cover? I mean, I know we didn't do the Starks, and I pretty much intentionally didn't do that because it's too hard to say I want them or I think they will die or whatever. But um, any other house that you or character that you want to cover?
Well, we have the Veil, Bronzion Royce, I believe, is the
Mm-hmm.
character that's in
Show.
and I can see him, going out in a blaze of glory. Um, and I think that would be a fitting end for him. Not like how they did Barristan Selmy.
That
On
was
the show.
that was cold.
I thought that was real. I watched the clip and it was that was that was so lackluster.
So
So
his runes, his bronze runes, are not going to save him at all against the White Walkers, right?
I don't foresee that. I don't
Hmm.
foresee that. I don't think so because I think the way, at least to me, that's how it appears. To me, it just appears to me that the way that the show writers are making out the Night King character, he is a multi-dimensional type of dude. You know what I mean? Like he is I don't know what word I'm looking for, but I think he would be able to circumvent that. And the way, just like he was able to circumvent the wall through Bran,
Hmm.
right? I think that he is intelligent enough to be able, because this dude has been around for a while.
For a minute, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure he's acquired a lot of knowledge. Excuse me. So I think that, but do they even talk about the runes on with
No,
Bronzeon? I don't even think they even touch that. So I don't even know if that would be even a factor.
never
Um,
mention it with Weimar in the prequel, in the prologue of the prequel, of the first episode, or anything like that.
well, I don't
Nothing
know if
was.
that would even be I don't know if that would even be a factor. So I think he bites it, but I think he bites it in a blaze of glory. I don't think he's just gonna go down like a punk. I think he's gonna, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
He's gonna go out like a champ.
Misty 306 says, "AU Pack Mule. I'm sorry, but the shocking events of the show were foreshadowed in the books. If Arya was the final shocker, then it wouldn't be a surprise for the book readers." Mm,
Well,
it would shock the hell out of me, to be honest with you. I gotta say that's one of the things that I haven't heard um, predicted in any video or in any um, theory. And I probably spend 50 hours a week on YouTube. So yeah.
I think Tony did a video about how Arya was, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he did a video about predicting Arya's end. I think he predicted that she was gonna end up. Um,
Monero, you know, and I know that Mr. Teflon has done a video on everything. He is the man. There's
yes,
no
I
doubt
think
about it. If
I think
there's
he
been
did.
a
I think he predicted that she was gonna go off into the east or something. I think some sort of she was gonna go off into some sort of sunset, like she was going to.
The
And I
sun sets in
believe,
the west, just to let you
okay,
know.
thank you, because I don't know my directions. Um, I
I'm
think
sorry.
she's supposed to go off into the sunset somewhere. I
Okay.
think that's what his prediction was, because she was supposed, because I think because she looked up to Nymeria, um, that she was going to. Uh, I believe it was it's been a while. It was a while ago when I think, because I watched that video when he first put it out, and I think it's been a couple of years. So I think that's what he said. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Anybody in the chat who's seen the video, if I'm wrong, please correct me.
I'm sure Tony will pop in just a second and correct you, because we all know he's watching. He
Oh my
never
God.
misses a Manaro Geek TV broadcast ever. He's like me.
Uh,
Yep.
so I think so, but and I heard somebody else, which is what I've latched onto, and I can't remember who the person is to give them the credit, but I have heard that someone else say that, she is going to, her perfect ending would be to warg into Nymeria after she dies and then live a second life. I can't remember who said it or where I heard it, but that was the idea that I latched on to, because to me it seemed to make the most sense. Because she, a lot of her story arc is about wolf pack and wanting to be part of a wolf pack. Especially if you read her story arc through Storms and Clash, she references, what her father says about having a wolf pack. So,
Sorry to
um,
interrupt you there. I do want to say hi to Jeff. He is from Idiot of the Day. He's got a great YouTube channel, and he live streams almost every day and talks to everybody in the chat and knows them so well. I just love that he stopped on for today. Thanks, and look forward to hearing from you later with the Jeff and JoJo show. I think it's awesome. You guys are great together. And thanks so much for coming on. I just really appreciate you stopping by. Sorry, Manero, I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt you.
no, no, no. Please, anytime.
Great
Yeah,
YouTube
show
friend
love,
to
show
have.
love, show love
Mm-hmm.
to those that stop in.
Mm-hmm. So other than the shocking, I'm still reeling over here. I think I'm going to take a break and go have a drink. And I don't drink, so yeah. After that Arya prediction, what other house member do you want to talk about? Because I'm
Um, I'm trying to think about who's around, because we already know the Mormonts. Actually, Jorah is gonna get ready to meet Lyanna at Winterfell, and I don't have it. I don't know if they've ever met in the books. I don't have any reference to that, but that's gonna I think that's gonna be a real interesting to see both of them like meet each other,
mm-hmm.
because technically she is actually the head of House Mormont at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and here he comes along. So it would be interesting to see what their interaction is going to be, because I don't think that Jorah has any desire to be the head of the house. I think he just wants to be all up in Danny's skirt. You know what I mean? Both figuratively and
Yeah,
literally.
literally. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you never know. He might get a shot. I
He's
mean,
got
end of
no
the world.
chance. He's got
You
no
know,
chance.
I
Come
mean,
on.
it's gonna be end of the world. You never know about these things. You
She's
never know
got
about that.
John. She's got Dario.
Well, she's got John
She's got
now.
her pick.
I think she's got John. I guess for me in my brain, when John finds out that he slept with his aunt, that
Mm-hmm.
might be a bit of a shock for her. She probably won't make too much of a deal about it,
You
but
think
for
Danny's
him,
going to say, slow your roll, baby? I think that's about it.
I no, I think she would be okay with it. I think she'll be okay with it. I think he will be like, "What the ham diggity sandwich?" I think he would probably have a problem with it, because his because of his upbringing. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think his upbringing will be a factor in his
I think
hesitation.
he just wants to prove that she can have children.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's a scientific thing.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was.
The Imagination Realm asked about Theon's fate, and we did cover House Greyjoy earlier. Monero thinks Theon will live, and I'm not so sure that it's going to matter whether he lives or not, because um, I don't think anybody from House Greyjoy is going to live. But that's my humble opinion there. Harrenhal pizza with Dragonfire baked stone pizza. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, no problem, Imagination Realm. That's what we're here for, is to answer questions, and it's all a fun discussion, right, Monero?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, where else are you going to hear Arya dies and becomes a white, and then John has to kill her? That's just. I still like. I think I'll be scarred for a day or two. Yes, Sir Bowster. I definitely wanted to do an earlier stream, especially with the fact that so many people are in Europe, and we are available to do it earlier today. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. And I haven't done a live stream in a long time, other than the Stormtrooper live stream I did with JR. For those of you that do not know, JR from Geek Chat One on YouTube, and the Facebook fan page. I have a link for them in the description below. I'd really like to see him hit the 1,000 mark subscribers and both fans. So um, if you don't mind going by, and you will also see on Geek Chat One the Geekend news. So anything geeky that's coming out, whether it's Marvel, Game of Thrones, just about anything that you would classify in the Con of Thrones or Comic-Con or anything like that. Lauren from Lauren's Corner and JR does the Geekend news. So you'll definitely be able to catch that. And speaking of Lauren, hello, there she is. It's like say her name 3 times and she will appear. Oh, let's see. Anybody from the Reach is going to live.
Well, the only person from the Reach that we have right now is Sam, because well, that's at Winterfell, because most of the other Reach army is still
Lannister.
Right. They're still down there, and like I said, when Cersei brings the Golden Company over, they have to have somebody to engage. Now, most of those armies are supposed to be traveling north with Jaime, because if we remember, they were talking logistics in Jaime's last scene of the season, before he left Cersei. So they were talking strategy about how they were going to be moving troops and forces to head up north, to deal with the white situation. So I don't know. I guess the question will be, will they make it in time, or will there be some sort of, or will the Golden Company land in Westeros before they have a chance to even, start, you know, making their way up north? Or I don't know how that's gonna work. So, but as far as any prominent character, the only prominent character that we have from the Reach is Sam, and you know, y'all already, I already mentioned what I thought about Sam's survival rate. He might have beat a white once. I don't know if he'll be. Well, you never know. Because Sam, like I said, it's usually the most unlikely characters that end up surviving. So I may have to rethink that. I may have to rethink Sam's survival, because he might be the one that's because he might be the one that survives because you are gonna need a maester to be able to record the story. And I think between him and Bran, um, they will be able to, write the books for the, next generation of
Why do you think that, if you don't mind me asking? Because that's an interesting point that hasn't really been brought up. We have Tyrion and Sam, and like I said, Bran, I think, will be writing the story. So why do you think it has to be a maester?
well, it doesn't necessarily have to be a maester, but I think I'm just going by precedent because all of the other conflicts that have ever happened in Westeros, m- most of them, most of the stuff has been recorded by a maester that was present at the time. You know what I mean? And I think Sam is is different because he is not he doesn't really have any prejudice or biases, you know what I mean? And I think he will be able to tell the story. He will be able to record the story in its truest form because Bran, if he is going to, you know what, I'm trying really hard not to interject book idea. I want to
No,
try to
no, that's okay because that's your specialty.
because if Bran is really the three-eyed raven,
Hmm.
he has he is going to be a ends justifies the means kind of guy because that's how Brendan Rivers was. Brendan Rivers was an ends justifies the means type of guy. And if it meant that you had to be eliminated to be able to get a result, that's what it meant. It didn't matter if you were family or not. You know what I mean? And it I don't want to say he was malicious in doing a lot of things because on the outside that's what it appears to be, but for him it was just about maintaining some sort of order and doing what in his brain he thought was the right thing to do. I think by the time he became the three-eyed crow and he had been traveling through the werewood, traveling through time, and he sees how things are supposed to play out. I think for him right now, um, a lot of the things that he has, because a lot of the things that he had been interjecting himself throughout this whole story arc, from the Game of Thrones up until what we have now, it's been an ends justify the means type of situation. And so, if he's passed that on to Bran, I think with Bran, that's he's gonna continue that same ideology. And so I don't see Bran actually recording anything, but I see him playing a part in a lot of what is going to be recorded. And I think him, I don't think it's happenstance that him and Sam meet in that last episode of the last season. I think the both of them are gonna I think their relationship starts there and it's going to develop from there because the both of them are going to have the tools to be able to know what the history was and to be able to record what is going to be happening and what will, and how all things end. So it would make sense to me that Sam would be the one to, as a, continuing in that line of of maesters, to be the one to record it.
Makes sense to me. Plexi, as always, has a great question on a non-house member, Kyburn, Uncle Creepy, she calls him. Uh, do you think he's a Varys plant? And
No, I don't think he's a Varys plant, and and
mhm,
and I'll tell you why. I think he's too much. He was too much about self preservation. One, and second,
mhm.
he just wanted to do weird shit, and he would align himself with whoever would allow him to you know,
Right,
do
because
weird
he was
things.
from a sellsword company to begin with, right?
Yeah. So because he was kicked out of the Citadel for doing weird experiments. And so
Hmm.
now he's aligned himself with somebody who allows him to do whatever he wants. You know what I mean? And he's kind of like that mad scientist type of guy. But I think, you know, he's going to get killed by his greatest creation, which is the mountain.
Interesting. I think the mountain is going to die from the dragon fire. My guess is that he'll blow that horn that Euron has supposedly,
Mm,
and because
interesting.
because he's dead, so it won't kill him like it did the others, and the dragon will come, but then it'll kill him with the dragon fire. So
Interesting.
that's what I think the mountain meant by he's coming for you, and you know that. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It would make something's
No,
dying.
I've always said that OTDAS is that because of the Bud Light commercial, and if you didn't watch the Super Bowl, you probably didn't see that. But yeah, the mountain kills the knight of the Bud Light, and and the dragon burns the mountain. Actually, burns everybody. But yeah, no, the Bud
And
Knight.
see this is where I'm like, okay, I'm curious as to how the show is gonna play both those fronts. You know what I mean?
The tightrope.
Because you can't have Danny in two places at once. And wherever Danny is, that's where her dragons are. Unless she's giving up one of her dragons to go somewhere.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I think to me it would make sense that Drogon and Rhaegal would be the ones to kill off uh, Viserion now that he's a white. You know what I mean? They would be the one to kill their brother off or sister off or whatever the dragon is. Um, so uh, so I don't know unless they plan on interjecting another dragon, which I don't see the showrunners doing because of budgetary reasons. But I unless they're willing to allow one of the dragons to head south, which would mean that
Well,
Danny would.
if the White Walkers overpower Winterfell and they all escape and go to King's Landing, then they would already be on their way to King. To the dragons would already be on their way there.
But that would require that would require that they get some sort of advance notice, and the only people that would be able to give them that advance notice are the people at the wall. Um,
No, I think you would have Bran's ravens be able to see
well,
them
yeah, you're
coming,
right. You're right. You're right.
and that zip line from Disney World is on the.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and that's interesting too because whenever Bran uses those ravens, the night the Night King notices that,
Hmm.
and I think they have a connection. I think they have a connection, and also remember, he's on a dragon, so he could go way ahead of his whole horde, and
Absolutely.
and just him alone on the dragon could cause some serious damage.
Psychologically, the laundry at Winterfell would be full because everybody would
Oh,
be pooping their pants. You know
oh
what I'm
my
saying?
god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah.
They're all gonna die. Ah.
So if you were writing the story, what would you want to see happen in the show? This is just show only.
Okay, so I had this discussion with before, but I think within the first two episodes, we need to see some major deaths. I think they need to eliminate some major characters and get them out of the way. That's just me. And I think it would make more for a compelling story to eliminate some eliminate some of the major characters early, um, because then it's going to be a fight for survival, and you probably may see people come together that normally wouldn't come together. You know what I mean? Or you may see certain alliances that normally probably wouldn't take place in order to meet the bigger threat. So um, I would like to, I would, I'm sorry, T baby, but I would like to see Tormund go early.
Hmm.
I would like to see Arya go early. I would like to see Brienne go early. And if anybody are a fan of those characters, I'm so sorry. Um,
Well, we
please
know
forgive.
that the story's going to end, so everybody's going to be out of the story to begin with. So we
Right.
understand it's whether they die or not. It's not going to matter. Honestly, it's not going to matter at the end of the season. But not
But I would
Arya.
like to see
Not
it end
oh,
with.
Lav says not Tormund. I, Lav has a list of hot guys that she's definitely not wanting to die, and
Yes, I
since
know. I
Khal
hope.
Drogo was already sacrificed, she feels like there's no other man that needs to die that's on her list.
I'm just
So
saying, it would make sense because
you can
I
send the
mean,
box of tissues to Lav and T Baby.
I know I'm over here killing off their face and saying that Jorah's gonna live. That the world is not fair, but
No,
this is George R. R. Martin's world, and nobody is safe. No one is safe.
if you think there's going to be a happy ending,
You
you
haven't
haven't
been
been
reading the
paying
book.
attention.
Ew, you haven't been reading the right story, man. So I think I would like to see it end. I mean, it's supposed to be a bittersweet ending, but I think in order for it to be a bittersweet ending, there has to be some major loss.
Hmm.
Um, and
I mean, he's
the
already shown that. I mean, we've eliminated
right.
how many houses already?
Oh my God, a lot of. I mean, the Baratheon line, except for Gendry,
Hmm.
is pretty much decimated. Um, and I think Gendry should live. Um, I think Gendry should live. I think um I'm up in the air about Tyrion living or dying. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? I'm up in the air about it. I don't think it would. I don't think to me it would matter to me whether he lived or died, because I think that he would have peaked as a character, because he's a very multi-dimensional character. He's a very deep and complicated character. You root for him, but you root against him because, especially in last the last books, like in the Dance of Dragons, dude is like crazy, yo. So um if he lives, I mean, that's great. If he doesn't live, I'm I'm okay with that too. um Melisandre, you know yeah, her and Varys, I think they would have, fulfilled whatever their destiny is, and they can go. John and Danny, um, I think to me it would make sense for John to die. No, die again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It
He's
would
already
make
dead.
sense. It would make sense. It would make sense for me for him to die a hero's death. You know what I mean? Um, to sacrifice himself for the greater good, as all Stark men do. Because the only Stark that will remain living will be Bran and Sansa, and I think it makes sense for Sansa to live, because to me that's how her story arc seems to be progressing towards. That's what her story arc is progressing towards, is for her to live, because she will be part of the what will be the new age of Westeros. Um, because she has so many tie-ins to so many different houses, whether directly or indirectly. Um, it would make sense to me that she lives for the new age. Danny, I to me, it makes sense for Danny to go. Her and her dragon. I don't see any dragons going into the new age of what Westeros will soon become. And so her dying will be the end of that era, the whole Targaryen era. Um, and but I think her death will be some sort of something symbolic. I don't think it's going to be like, some sort of I think there'd be some sort of symbolism that comes from her death and her dragon's death. So yeah, I think to me it would make sense for her not to for her to go. I know there's talk. I know that I've heard people say that her and John will be like the last hero um and Nissa, or she'll play the part of Nissa or whatnot.
Hmm.
And it could very well be. I think that probably will play well in the show. Whether she sacrifices herself for the greater good, which I don't see happening because
Hmm.
she's got dragons, and so she's not going to think that she needs to sacrifice herself um, for anybody. But I do think that she will eventually see that in order for probably um, s- in order for there to be some sort of resolution that it may mean that she may need to sacrifice herself and her dragon. So I don't know. Um, Maybe that will happen. Maybe but I don't know. It just seems to me in on the show her character still has a air of arrogance that it um she, she teeter totters on both sides. Like she cares and she wants to help and she wants to do better, but she also has this sense of entitlement that she still carries around with her because of the fact that she's a Targaryen. And she kind of y- you, it shows that she kind of struggles back and forth between the two. So but
For
that's
those of
how
you,
I see
I'm sorry. For
it.
those of you who don't know Catherine Cronin, she has a channel that she's been doing Sunday mornings. Her and Claire Gray, um, I call the Oracle, have been going through book chapter reads, and she's live streaming. She usually comes on around 11 o'clock on Sunday, but sometimes she goes a little bit later. I put the link to her channel in the description, her actual live stream. And I know Brandon goes over there. I've been there almost every week. And she has just been diagnosed with breast cancer and is going through some treatment. So a lot of her live streams aren't on. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't mind coming on this morning. But she ended up actually live streaming this morning. So I definitely wanted to give her some support. If you don't mind, go over there and tell them that the pack mule train has been arrived and say hello for me. And we'll be there in just a few more minutes after we get done with one more house. You're right, Brand. Brand the Bearded Builder is a book purist like Manaro, and he definitely agrees. She is amazing. She's super smart. She's got 2 master's degrees and is just an genius. Her and her husband are awesome, and the way her and Claire interact are great. Um, just like with Monero, you get some insight that you weren't expecting from any other content creator. So good stuff there. Plexi has a question. Will we learn the presence of a dragon brought forward to the Night King, or that the rise of whites brought back the dragons? So I think the answer to that is pretty much in the books. We see from the prologue the walkers, and it's not until book 2 that we get the dragons. So the beginning of, or the end of book 1, beginning of book 2, that we
Mhm,
get the
mhm.
dragons. So unless there's a time switch there, which I don't think there is, I think definitely the dragons came after, and I don't think it has anything to do with one versus the other, because if that was the case, the dragons would have not died 300 and, you know, well, excuse me, 150 years ago. It would have been even longer. So, would you agree, Monero, with that
Yeah, I
information?
don't think yeah, I don't think they one has anything to do it. to do with the other. And also remember, the dragon eggs that Danny got, they came from a shy. So if we go back to the history of, the history of Valeria and their and how they came about to have dragons, and you know how they did, how they you know um cultivated dragons and stuff like that. I would not be surprised in the books, if we find out that there probably are more dragon eggs that are probably, you know in a shy or somewhere near or abouts, because um we don't really know. The only insights we get into Ashai is through Melisandre and through, um, I think a couple of other characters. So there is Ashai is shrouded in a lot of mystery, and again, I would not be surprised if there are more dragon eggs, because that's where Illyrio said that he said that's where he got the dragons from that he gifted to Danny, and he didn't think that they would have hatched. Nobody
Right.
would have ever thought that they were going to hatch. So they probably thought that these dragon eggs were probably just, you know, props, or just some sort of relic, and so that they had no real purpose. And I'm certain that news would have gotten back to Ashai that those dragon eggs did in fact hatch. So if there are any more dragon eggs that are in Ashai, which in my mind I believe there is, we don't know what role that they are yet to play in um, the whole scheme of things. Did I freeze up?
No, you're fine. You look
Okay.
great,
Um,
at least to me.
so
But that's different.
I hope I didn't freeze up.
No, in Fire
I
and
don't know
Blood,
what role they have to play.
we get a couple of indications that dragons are in a shy, and the Targaryens ship was there, and I can't remember which queen it was, but um, definitely a connection between a shy and the dragon eggs, right?
Yeah. So I would think that I don't think the appearance of the White Walkers have anything to do with the dragons, but I do believe that the dragons. I do believe that the appearance of the White Walkers will be a catalyst for um, there being a need for dragons. Because right
Mm.
now, the only dragons that we have are Danny's dragons, those three dragons.
Hmm.
And according to, I believe, that one of them died on the show is something that is, predicted is foreshadowed, I believe, in the books, that that one of the dragons, or or two of the dragons, or a number of the dragons will die. And if that is the case, will they die before the the long night? I don't know how that's going to play out in the books. Are they going to die before the long night takes place? Because if they do die before the long night takes place, and but yet the dragons have a major role to play in the battle for the battle for the dawn, I would not be surprised if you know there is some other connection that takes us back to Ashai. And right now our connection to Ashai is what's her name, the one with the red lacquer face
Uh,
that talks in riddles.
yes.
Oh my god, her
Yes,
name escapes
exactly.
me.
It starts with a Q.
Her name escapes me. um
Quincy, Kwanzaa. I don't. I'm
I know
sorry.
somebody in the chat will know.
Yes, Quaith.
Quaith,
Yeah.
thank you. She is currently our connection to. She is our connection to Ashai, the Riddle Master. So, um, I would not be surprised if there's mention of more dragon eggs, or the attempt to um hatch more dragons and stuff like that in the upcoming battle for the dawn. So I'm not saying that's what will happen. I just say I wouldn't be surprised if that were to be the case. Um, It would be quite interesting though if we were to have more dragons just, um, come. But that would be only if um the dragons in the book end up dying before the Battle of the Dawn. If they end up dying as a result of, conflict with Aegon.
Oh, there was one other question I wanted to bring up, and that was in regards to the God's Eye. Do you think we're going to see anything? I mean, indicating anything at all with the God's Eye, or do you think it's just unimportant at this point?
Well, I know it's important in the books. I don't know how important it is in the show. And the reason why is I don't know for the previous seasons if they've ever showed it, but I didn't really see any reference to it in the show from when I started watching in season 6. So I don't know. I don't see what the point would be to bring it up now when
Yeah,
you're at the
if they
end.
were going to have any kind of indication, they would have drawn it in the map
Right.
that
And
was.
it would have made sense to me if they were gonna do that, that they would have, you know, um, the Ghost of High Heart, because I think she has a part to play in whatever will happen on the God's Eye, you know what I mean? Because I think there's a really strong connection between her and Brendan Rivers, the three-eyed crow. I think there's a connection between them.
Mhm.
And so because we didn't really have that, and I don't think they're going to have some, unless unless they kind of put a couple, they might superimpose some things on Melisandre, because I think Melisandre kind of may have substituted some of the story for the Ghost of High Heart
Mhm.
on the show. So unless, which I don't foresee, because at this point it really wouldn't make any sense, and it would just be another thing to throw at show watchers that probably wouldn't make any sense to them,
Right.
because it wasn't something that was introduced in the beginning. So it really wouldn't have any real significance to them other than to show them some weird looking trees, and for what, you know?
I think
Because
that's a
then you,
really
you
important
you would
point
have to
in our
have,
discussion.
yeah, there would need to be some sort of a tie-in, and there isn't one.
Exactly. It's kind of like asking about Howland Reed, because all we've heard about
Yeah,
Howland Reed is the Tower of Joy scene, and the fact that
right,
Mira and Jojen have a father, but we have no idea who he is or why his
right.
story is important. That whole thing. I don't think we're going to see him at all either.
I yeah, you know, I ap- I guess I can appreciate that they gave us the Tower of Joy scene. And I think that was more so for book. I think that that scene was more so for book readers than it was for show watchers. I think that scene was more to kind of, you know, make us, make those of us that read the books, to kind of make us a little happy, to give us some sort of um, uh, satisfaction as to um, who Jon Snow's parents really are. And I think that was probably the only reason why they probably put the Tower of Joy scene in on the show, because again, it wasn't something that was, at least not that I know of, that it wasn't something that was really um, introduced or talked about, on the show, unless back in season 1 they had the tower when Nell when Nell when Ned was in his cell. If they did, I don't know if they did that, because I didn't watch the first season, because that was where we first get introduced to the Tower of Joy scene, was in Ned's dreams.
Mhm.
And so unless they introduced that in the beginning, I don't know how much sense it would, how it would tie in for anybody who watches the show, other than to see that, because then it wouldn't, um there there is no point of reference for somebody in the show to really get who Howland Reed is. Why is he important to the storyline? How does he further the story? You know, and or you know, any of the Kingsguard that was there for that matter. You know, it doesn't really have any true importance. I'll even so go as far as to say is neither is Liana, for that matter, or
Hmm.
neither is Rhaegar. I mean, other than to appease those of us who read the books, you know,
Right.
because if you're a show watcher, those scenes really don't have any true meaning for you because it wasn't anything that was ever truly
Emphasized.
introduced in the beginning for you to have some sort of a um to have to feel like you have any uh I don't know what word I'm looking for, but there wouldn't be any reason for you to even care about it. So
Hmm.
I think those scenes were placed in the show more so for us who read the books, because if you've read the books you kind of already know the backstory, and just as a
Sure.
way of appeasing those of us who read, you kind of give us these little, you give us a visual of
It's like John
those things
dying,
that we discussed. Right,
you
right.
know.
You give us a visual, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Which is great because I appreciated the whole that whole scene with, you know, the younger Starks, you know, young Lyanna and Ned and Brandon, seeing Hodor, seeing, you know, old Nan. I appreciated that scene. I also appreciated the scene at the Tower of Joy. I thought it was really, you know, really good to see. You know, uh, but you know, meh, meh, meh.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see any of the reads. Do you? I mean, from here on
No,
in.
I think Mira has run her course. There's
Hmm.
nothing. I don't think there's any other. There's nothing else for Mira to do in the story. I don't think there's anything. I don't think Holland Reed will be reintroduced into the story plot,
Right.
because there again, we if you're just watching the show, Howland Reed really isn't that important to you. It isn't important enough to you that it matters that you know, that he should be on in any of the scenes or on the show, because you don't, you haven't gained a certain, you haven't developed a relationship to know, understand who he is and how he is important, which is different in the books. Um, because Howland Reed has the answers to a lot of questions that most of us, you know, really have, um, with respect to the books. But in the show, it really wouldn't make it really, really wouldn't drive the story one way or the other to have Howland there. I think you would just be just throwing something there just to throw it there, and you're probably doing it just to probably appease again us book readers. I mean, if you can make it make sense, you could, if you could put it in there and make it make sense, you know, great. But if you can't, and then it really wouldn't make any sense. It really would be a waste of time. At least in my opinion, it would be a waste of time. I wouldn't even bother to put any more reads on the show. I think Mira should just, you know, we'll just say whatever happens to her off screen.
Right. Right. Yeah, because Brand doesn't care about her.
No.
I did want to say hello to another YouTube friend of mine. Lala Lydia's in the house. She's got a great channel as well. Definitely thanks for coming in. I appreciate it very much. Hopefully I'll have her on the channel and we'll do a live stream together as soon as possible. But that's up to her. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks for
Do
being here.
it, do it, do it.
Manaro is a willing participant, so she's encouraging everybody. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to start doing the 30 days in a row. It's going to be so much fun. I don't know if I told everybody in the chat, but we'll be doing a live stream every day for 30 days, gearing up towards Game of Thrones season 8, the final season. It'll
Woo!
be hype and drive, hype and drive. Um, so basically, we've got pretty much everybody dead except for a few small characters. Of
Yes.
all the characters that we've talked about, which one would just crush your heart if they died?
Ah. Um, well, for those of you who probably don't know, I have no faves except for Nimble Dick Crab. He's my only fave character, and he's not on the show. So,
And that's all because of his name, right?
yeah, his name just tickles me. It tickles me. So,
You're probably gonna have a pet named that when you
probably, hey Nimble
and
Dick,
everybody's gonna look at you like, "What the
what the
hell is
ham diggity?
this?"
Yeah, that'll be me. Um, but if I'm gonna go with a character that would really crush my heart if they were to die, I'm gonna have to go with Arya. And the only reason why I'm going with Arya is because seeing what this little girl has gone through and what she has become in this story, and she finally makes it home. You know, you you, you can't put I can't even put it into words what that could probably be like for her character to finally make it back home after everything that you've been through, after everything that you've done, after everything that was done to you, to finally make it home. And not only make it home, but to be with your family who you had been separated from for so long, um, and for it to be short lived.
Mhm.
I think for me that would be truly, truly it would be a very sad thing, and that would be the only reason why. I mean, everybody else, you know, it would be tragic too. I mean, the same thing could go for Sansa, and I know there's not a lot of Sansa fans out there, but I could say the same thing about Sansa, because that she's been through a lot herself. I mean, she has been through a lot herself. Um, and I could say that both in the books and on the show. And that would be kind of tragic if she were to die. But I'm gonna go with Arya. Um, and the only reason why I I go with Arya over Sansa is because I know that to me, I think that she doesn't survive, and I think that's gonna be more tragic than Sansa, who I think will survive.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, Piece of Ann says, she's definitely gonna be, um, the number one Sansa fan, and, um, Phil H doesn't agree. I'll put it that way. Um, yeah, there was definitely, uh, as much cat haters as there are Sansa haters, and to me, they're like Joffrey. They play an important role in the story, and
Yeah.
I think that's
I,
one of the parts that we miss. But
I think there's like a visceral I don't know where it comes from, but I think it's very visceral because people, I guess, and I'm going to speak from a book perspective for the moment. I think a lot of people forget that she is a little girl,
mhm.
okay? Now I have a niece who's 13, okay? And all this little girl talks about is how cute boys are. She like you
That's her
can
whole
say
world, right?
pretty much cute boys, cute clothes.
Hmm.
That is a 13-year-old. You know what I mean? I have a niece who's 10. And that's pretty much how and they don't see beyond themselves, right? They're very egocentric.
Hmm.
Um, so to me, when I read Sansa, that's what I see. I see just a little girl who's just being a little, a teenager. She's being a preteen. She's being a teenager. That's what they do. Yes, do her actions end up having consequences to them? Yes, and they are dire, you know what I mean? But I don't think her actions are the sole reason for a lot of the things that happen to either herself or her family. You know what I mean? Do they play a part in it? Yes, but I don't think they're the sole reason. And um, I think because of the strong attachment that people have formed with you know, a lot of the Stark family that, you know, anytime somebody does anything that kind of goes against that or feels like it's sabotaging them, you know, uh it's a knee-jerk reaction. I won't say knee-jerk. It's a normal reaction for people to want to just start like throwing coal and rotten food at you
Mhm.
because they need somebody to blame for why this is happening. You know what I mean? I can say Ned dying is just as much his fault as it was Arya's fault, as it is Joffrey's fault, as it is Littlefinger's fault. I mean, so many different people played a part in Ned dying, but most people will blame Sansa for it because if Sansa hadn't gone to Cersei and told her that her father was trying to, you know, sneak him out of the house, you know, they would have never got caught. Same thing with Catelyn. I know Catelyn is not really a huge fave. I think what at least
That's
for
the
me,
understatement of the life.
I know she's not,
Oh.
I know she's not a fave. I know she's not a fave. And from listening to people talk, the main reason why she's not a fave is because of her treatment of John. And I tell people, you know, Catelyn's treatment of John, yes, was not right and it's inexcusable, but I understand it. You know what I mean? And I understand it from a perspective of as a woman, and I understand it as a perspective of the time that she is living in. As a woman, you know, you don't want a constant reminder of your husband cheating on you, at least as it presents itself. You understand what I'm saying? And
Not really.
it's kind of a hard pill to swallow when the object of your husband's infidelity is in your face 24/7. And not only that, the object of said infidelity looks more like your husband than any of your kids. It's got to be
That's
something
the
that
part
kind
that
of
throws
feels like
you off.
a knife that kind of feels like a knife that just keeps grinding you and grinding you and grinding you. And that and it I understand the human emotion to feel very pissed off. And sometimes your anger gets directed at the wrong person. It should have been directed at Ned, but it got directed at John, right? And that's not how it should have been, but that's how it is. That's one. Second, we have to also remember the time that she is living in. You know what I mean? For all, you know, in the time that she's living in, you have there is a hierarchy. You have true-born children and you have base-born children. And usually true-born and base-born children do not coexist in the same space. But, you know, Ned, we understand the reasons why Ned brought John home.
Sure.
You know, would Ned have still brought John home had he not been truly his nephew? I don't know. I don't know.
I want to get to a question that Angelina High asked her a little bit earlier
Mhm,
about Sansa looking pregnant. And I think we've gone through that for a couple of seasons now, probably 3 seasons,
mhm.
since she actually left the Vale, I think, is when we see her and she seems to look pregnant in photos. I think Costume Co. did a discussion with the costume designer from Game of Thrones and discussed that about her looking pregnant and just said it was due to the costume design.
The costume itself, yeah.
Hmm.
It would make sense because, you know, they're wearing a lot of layers
Hmm.
and some of those things kind of, you know, poof out and stuff. So
uh, Phil H says she's just bloated.
well, if you've ever been on your monthly,
Yeah.
you
No, sorry, missed that one. All 6,000 of
yeah.
them. Anyway, there's another one that I wanted to get to. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Sorry, guys. Just wanted to go back. Oh, Linda R. Definitely wanted to answer this question because it gets brought up a lot. Why didn't Ned trust Kat? And you were talking a lot about the infidelity, and that's when she asked that question. Do you want to tackle that one? Because I definitely have an answer.
Um, I think, in my opinion, he didn't trust Kat. I think sometimes Ned becomes very literal in his words and his belief at some point. I think he thought maybe he was protecting John by not revealing it to anyone, um, including his wife, which I don't. It probably would have gone a long way for him to have told Kat. How would that have played out in the bigger scheme of the story? It probably wouldn't have driven the plot the way that it is, you know? Um, there might, the answer to that question might come to us at a later time in the story, but I think he probably thought that
Sorry to interrupt you.
he
I
was
just want to say
protect.
goodbye to Angelina. Hi, she's got to take off. And
Oh,
super hearts to you. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you soon. Angelina High is a big Tolkien fan, so we're going to do some streams on
yeah.
J.R.R. Tolkien, and I hope we get to do that
Oh,
soon.
I can't. I saw the trailer for that. I'm really excited to
Hmm.
see it. I
I'll have that
can't
video
wait.
out
I can't.
tomorrow on the trailer. So
Yeah,
just to let you know.
definitely. I'm gonna watch.
So
Yeah, I
so you think it's you actually have a different answer in regards to Ned trusting Cat, and I think it has more to do with the risk involved. We um, saw what Ned did when he found out that they were talking about it, as far as it being
yeah.
Ashara Dane's kid, and he basically dismissed everybody involved in that little gossip time because he is so protective of John
John.
being a
Mhm.
Targaryen that, in my opinion, say what you will about the whole conspiracy theory about Mance being Arthur Dane, but I think there's Jorah Mormont's blade, Longclaw being Dark Sister. I think there's an entire conspiracy around this whole John being the true Targaryen heir is so thick in this book that it's really impossible for him to let anybody know um, that anything is going on other than the people that are involved. And that's another reason why Benjen went to the wall. I truly believe that. It's because if anybody in the Baratheon line heard about this, John and everybody else would be dead. And if Kat can deny that she has any knowledge of this, then there's no Ned feels like she's not in danger. But if she had that information, I think he would
Mhm.
feel like this is my new wife and my new family. He doesn't think of it as he's being in unfaithful to her in the whole John
Right.
situation.
Right.
He doesn't think that at all, and you could tell that in his point of view. And
No,
that's one of the
no.
reasons why.
He is keeping in his mind. He's keeping a promise to his sister, and and you're right. In the that it there was a true danger to John because
Mhm.
at the time, Bobby B was like the minute you mentioned Targaryen, he had like, red flame,
Rage.
like
Mhm.
red flames in his eyes, and he would be willing to kill. And who knows, he might have been so upset at Ned that he would off him and his whole family,
Absolutely.
just because it would be considered treason. You know what I mean? It would have been considered treason. And so, you know, yeah, that makes really good sense to me, that
Mhm.
he would be overly protective of his nephew. And I think him agreeing for his nephew to go to the wall was even another layer of protection, because he would just be out of sight, out of mind. Um, and he could live, because what other life would he have had other than to be by Rob's side, if not to go make his way at the wall,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever thought of that, but Jorah Mormont. uh, he has this long claw, this Valyrian steel blade,
Hmm.
right? Supposedly that's the family sword, right? And
Right.
he's selling slaves. He already went through all of his belongings to keep up his with his wife, and he's trying to win tourneys and doing all this other stuff. He had a Valyrian steel blade that he could have sold for enough to keep them happy forever, but he just leaves it on the bed at Bear Island. I don't buy that at all. And then all of a sudden at the wall, Gior just happens to have it and then gives it to John. I mean, John is a
Yeah,
bastard.
it's a circle. I think it's a circle. I think it's a circle. I don't know if Longclaw is really Dark Sister, because I would be of the mind that Dark Sister is with the Golden Company. And the only reason why I would think that is because back when the Battle of Redgrass Field had taken place, if anybody has read the Duncan Egg novellas, um, Bittersteel took Dark Sister with him when they fled to Essos,
Mhm.
and so it would make some sense to I didn't I don't know if
Bittersteel.
Dark Sister, but yeah, Bittersteel. I don't, if I didn't say that, it should have been Bittersteel that I
Yeah.
said. Bittersteel took that with him to when him and all those other people that were part of the Blackfire Rebellion, they all went to Essos. So he had Dark Sister with him, because remember, he still had some of Daemon's sons with him. I don't recall ever hearing that Dark Sister ever made its way back, you know, to Westeros through any of the other people that traveled back. As far as I know, it's still in the possession of those in the Golden Company. But the show doesn't really give any importance to swords. They don't, which I think is kind of a shame, because I think the swords kind of tell the story, is inclusive in the story of the families. So I, you know, kind of like Dawn. You know, I think that somehow that I
That's a
believe the theory. I believe the theory that Dawn is actually um the sword that Azor Ahai had, or a
Gotcha.
version of it.
Yeah, T-Baby definitely corrected us in regards to Dark Sister being with Blood Raven, and that's where it gets to the wall with Jorah. I definitely didn't correct you on that, so I apologize.
Okay. Yeah. If that happened, then I don't know, because from what I remember reading, Bitter still took Dark Sister with him when they went to Essos. If it made its way back to Westeros, I don't know how that happened. I haven't read anything, or I don't know of how that would have happened. Because Bitter Steel, because remember, there was more than um each of the Targaryens had a sword.
Sure.
Dark Sister was Aegon's, and I believe both Rhaenyra and
Rhaenys,
um
Visenya.
had a sword. I
Mhm.
don't remember what their names were, but I know each of them also had a sword. And there's nothing that indicates that they ever left Westeros. So they were still in Westeros. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure in Fire and Blood that they go down to that they probably go down the history of whatever happened or whatever became of those particular swords. Or
I haven't gotten
I
to
could
the
be
end
wrong.
of Fire and Blood, but I definitely know it's revealed in um, the story of Brynden Rivers going to the Night's Watch,
Okay.
and I
Yeah, because
believe that
there's
was
a
in Dance.
there's a big hole. There's a big I would really like to know what was up with Brendan Rivers during the period of him getting to the wall and him becoming entangled in the trees.
Say that again.
How did that happen?
Oh, well, we already know that Brendan Rivers is a huge fan of the dark arts. I mean,
Right.
he practiced those back in the Duncan Egg Tales, and it's
True.
widely known that him and his sister were always into that. I mean, it's just
Right.
been known. So all that has to happen is he's a ranger in the Night's Watch. He hears the stories of Craster, you know, with these baby missing, you know, and all girls. I mean, he's not stupid. And then he investigates it, and you know, even though he becomes you know, a Night's Watch commander, um, he still is curious, and his
Right.
curiosity got him involved with the children. And that's how, you know, it's like Bran, he touches that tree and he goes to a place where he was. All that has to happen is Brendan Rivers goes back and sees Sierra Sea Star, you know, and him and making love, you know, and falls back into that storytelling. He's going to be stuck there forever,
Well,
and that's how he gets involved.
could there have been a previous three-eyed crow?
All there
Because
has to be is children of the forest bringing him to that
right,
weirwood
they would have
tree.
brought him into that cave.
Hmm.
But was there a predecessor?
Well, we already know that. Thanks, Lydia. I appreciate you doing that. Definitely hit the thumbs up button. That's a great help to me. Um, in regards to the previous three-eyed crow, we already see children of the forest having men children of the forest in the
Yeah.
cave. So we know that there are other green seers.
Hmm.
Sir LT Giles is in the house. Thanks for joining us, brother. Appreciate it. All the way from Las Vegas. Hope everything is well for you, my friend.
Vegas.
But yeah, I mean, we've seen green seers and children of the forest talked about since the Dawn Age. So I don't see any reason why we would believe that a curious dark arts practicer would have any problem touching that tree and being stuck there. That's what he tells Bran.
That
So
yeah, that would make that makes sense. That makes sense. I think he should do a Brendan Rivers book.
oh, wouldn't that be
I'm sure it
awesome?
would tell. I'm sure. I'm sure that it would be very. I mean, I'm sure it would be really good.
I think
We get into the
I think
minds of these.
he's one of those people like when J.R.R. Tolkien made The Ring, he connected The Hobbit
Right.
with the Lord of the Rings, and that's one of the
Right.
things that connected the Duncan Egg Tales with the
Right.
current story
Exactly.
is Brenda
Exactly.
Rivers. Just absolutely wonderful. Um,
Yes.
Linda R says, I think the children use the green seers to manipulate the world. And that's obviously true if what happened to Bran in that brief moment that he was there, where he calls out Ned's name and Ned turns around. I mean, that was just a simple and easy way. And look what happened to Hodor. Yeah. So
That would make sense because remember, they was fine. They were chilling in Westeros before the Andals. The first men came and then the Andals came.
mhm.
And probably as a way of you know call it petty. Oh, y'all coming in to mess with us? Okay, I got something for y'all. So it would make sense for them to want to manipulate the world to their own end. You know what I mean?
Misty 306.
I,
I
I
don't know if any of you know, just hit 100 subscribers, so she can now do live streams, and she's definitely going to be one of the people we'll have to look out for. So thanks for being
yeah,
here. I really appreciate you coming by, and we'll look forward to it. Yeah, definitely be watching. And anytime you
congratulations.
want to come on the channel, as you know, the door is always open. So anytime we're discussing Game of Thrones, I'm there. Right, Monero?
Yes,
Absolutely.
unless you want to come and talk a whole bunch of nothing on ginger ale chats.
Oh,
So
ginger ale. Oh, you know, I almost put together a Jamie Cersei scene so we could narrate it together, but
Oh, that would be awesome.
we'll just talk like this and be really nice and quiet and just. I can't wait for that. That'll be so much fun. I know, it's sensual, just perfectly awesome. All right, so back to reality. Sorry, I had to get out of my head. Yeah, Clarissa Thompson's in the house. I forgot to say hi to you on air, so I do apologize, but hello and welcome. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, Frozen North. Wow. Any other characters that you want to touch on as far as who you think's gonna live, die, or do something else? Are we gonna get another Brendan Rivers kind of character?
I don't think so. I don't see how that would make sense show wise for them to introduce. I don't see how it would make sense so wise for them to introduce any other characters since they're going to be getting ready to kill off most of the other characters. So just throwing another character in there would probably more so for the book readers than it would be for show watchers. And at this point, me personally, I don't really need you to add another character. I just need you to be able to concentrate on writing on
Good
giving me
content.
a good story for each of the characters that you currently have and making sure that you tie everything, in a way that makes sense. That's what I would like to see. I don't want to see like some runoff type of story that has no bearing on how you want to end the story. Just tie everything off. Make it make sense for the show characters. Um, and I don't think you need to interject anything else from the books or try to interject anything else from the books into the show. Just use what you have and just make it good because I know they have the ability to do that. And you've had a whole year, almost 2 years to make it happen. So there shouldn't be any plot holes, at least in my opinion. There shouldn't be any plot holes. I think you should be able to work with what you have and make it make sense and give me a good story for me to be able to go back and be like, yo, this whole thing was bomb. I don't want I would appreciate not having just certain scenes be nice in in the episode. I want the entire episode to keep me engaged and um, give me good storytelling so that the whole entire um, episode is memorable to me, not just bits and parts of it. And then other parts of it, I'm just like, that didn't really make any sense. I don't know what they were thinking. I shouldn't have to say that. Um, as far as character, I think we've touched on pretty much most of the characters. The only
Yeah.
one we haven't talked about was Robin,
Sweet
Robin
Robin.
Aaron, who's still out there,
Shaking, shivering,
who's still out there, and
doing the Harlem Shake.
And who else? I don't think we touched on the other, the men at the wall, like Dolph said, and the other guys at Castle Black, which I can see that they're gonna. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to die, to be honest. And then we haven't talked about, what about the Maesters at the Citadel? What will their fate be?
Bye, Lydia. Thanks for coming.
What will their fate be? Will the whites make it to the Citadel? Will it arrive that far? I
Like
don't know.
John said last year, I want to go somewhere where it's warm.
I think he did.
Yeah, maybe that's what he has to do.
I think that's what he did at the end of last season. He did go someplace warm.
You had to go there, didn't you? Oh
I
my
sure
God.
did.
Riding the dragon.
Just so that you know what I kept saying, I would just like for him to be in a room with Sam and Bran when they tell him, by the way, Danny is your aunt, and break the whole story down to him, and him be in a state of shock, and then while he's in the state of shock, there is a montage of movement that's going on behind him, and he's just going. It's all just encircling him, and he's just like in stasis. And then after all is done, he'll blink and say, "What?" That would be, to me, that would be awesome. I find that very comedic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
He's like, let's go make some cousins.
hey, can't beat them, join them. Yeah, I
Oh.
find it. You know, it.
What
I was just
what do you think is a bigger
overwhelmed.
shock? Him finding out he's a Targaryen and he's in, like real Targaryen, or that his lover is his aunt?
I think him. I think him finding out that his lover is his aunt would probably be more of a shock than him figuring out he's a Targaryen. Because even if he finds out he's a Targaryen, it also means that he's a true Stark. And I think him finding out that he's legitimate and not a bastard would be more important to him. And not only that, that he can claim to be a true have a true Stark identity, because that's what he identifies most with, because that's what he looks more like than he does Targaryen. I think that will mean more to him. I think probably what will hurt him more is the fact that he slept with his aunt, and that would, you know, that might cause him some discomfort. How long or how much or how much that discomfort will be, I don't know, because maybe Danny might be like, "Look, we already did it."
We already did it. It's a
I
little
mean,
late. It'll
I mean,
that
he would
dragon
probably
has
say,
left the
"Yeah, but
door,
I
huh?
didn't know who you were." He goes, she's like, "Well, that's how our family rolls." He says, "But that's not how our family rolls."
Oh, that's awesome. That's hilarious.
But we don't talk about what that will mean for Danny, because as far as Danny's concerned, she has no family left.
Hmm.
And so to find out that she has a nephew, which means that she has an actual blood relative, um, I'm sure that's gonna mean something to her. Now, the fact that she slept with her blood relative, I don't think that, honestly, I don't know if that's gonna bother her much, because probably in her mind she'll think we can rule together. And we both know that John has no desire to really be a ruler. He's not really, that's not his thing.
Yeah, T Baby says it's still gross, but
It is. It
it's a
is
show. It's totally. It's yeah.
to me. It is. I was so over the incest. I was over the incest thing. I was like, we already had Jamie and Cersei. We don't need anything else.
Mm-mm.
I'm good. I'm good
Yep.
on the incest. We're good on it.
We covered that.
God.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think you have a brother, don't you? So it
For
probably
me,
is.
yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a different perspective on that. I
Yeah.
don't have any sisters, so I don't even know. Yeah, but
Yeah, that's gross.
yeah.
That's gross. That
Poor
is
John.
nasty.
He got booed out of a stream because he suggested Sansa will die.
Wow. Really?
John, what stream were you in? Was it Catherine's?
There must they must have been some Sansa stands. And which is
Yes.
rare. They're people who are, fans of Sansa are really rare in the to me,
Mm-hmm.
I find them to be very rare in the fandom, because there's a lot more people that hate
Oh, gotcha.
Sansa than love her.
I forgot all about LMR's or not LMR, but oh my gosh. Lucifer means Lightbringer. I forgot about
Mhm.
his stream. Yeah, because he does stream today. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, well, I'm glad that
No.
you're here, John. You're always welcome. You can
And
say
I'm sorry
anything.
you got booed out,
Other than
but
AU is an asshole, that's the only thing you can't say.
oh my God.
Because we know that's not true.
No, it's
Um,
not.
at any rate, yeah. This has been a lot of fun. I really didn't
Yeah.
think we would have the ability to cover 2.5 hours on this live stream. But then again, like I said, when we began, we talked about the Baratheons for 12 hours. So
I think a lot of people you don't realize how much there really is to say, and then because I also have the great ability of going off into other different realms and tangents, that probably didn't really help matters much, but.
yeah, who will live? That's a funny thing. John Haymaker says who will live. I think we just talked about that for 2.5 hours.
Pretty much.
But,
okay, so who's gonna live? I think Sansa will live. I
mhm.
think Jorah Mormont will live. I think possibly Tyrion will live. I think possibly Gendry will live. I said Sansa already, right? I think maybe Tormund, because you're going to need wildling representation. So Tormund should live, even though I think he should die. I think he should live because you're going to need some sort of wildling representation. And right now, he's like the main front runner for all things wildling. So he probably might be the one to live. And that's all I got.
Yeah, I just want to say hi to Heidi from Costume Co. We just talked about her a few minutes ago, and there she is. Must be a trend today. We talk about somebody and they show up. Unfortunately, it didn't happen with Teflon TV, but we know Tony's listening. So,
How do you know he's listening?
Oh, he always listens when Monero's around. Yeah, he loves you,
I
man.
seriously doubt that.
Oh, that's so true. It is so true. All you have to do is talk about one of his videos, and he'll answer you in the chat for sure. You know, Tony's listening. Yeah, I love Costume Co's videos. Does a great job in discussing all of the costumes of all of our shows and other things too. But definitely her forte is costume making. So,
Oh, nice.
See, John Haymaker knows. He says Tony Teflon's listening. He says he's lurking, but I didn't put it that way.
Wow. That sounds creepy.
Yeah. As far as other people that are living, I think Brienne will live because I think she will be Sansa's one of the members of the Queen's Guard, whoever that would be. I don't think Jon will live because he's dead already. Technically, I definitely don't think he will live. Oh, yeah, I'd love to be on anytime, Heidi. Just all you have to do is say when and where, and I'll be there. That's not a problem at all. As far as anyone else in the chat, would you like to say who you want to, one person that would you really want to live? Whether it be Gilly's baby, Sam, Bran. Like I said earlier, I think Tyrion, Bran, and Sam will write the story. I don't know of anybody else. I don't think the Cleganes will live at all. I think both of them will die. Sadly, obviously for Sandor, I definitely think Gregor will die by dragon fire. The direwolves will all be dead. No more polar bears. No more giants. No more children of the forest.
Yeah. I think there has to be it all has to has some sort of end in order for
Lab says no, the Hound. No, not the Hound. It's like she wants both the Hound and Tormund.
And you can't have both. You can't have both.
And if Peter was still alive, she would want some of that Littlefinger. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
You can't have both. One of them gotta go. You can't have those two alpha males together. One of them gotta go.
Jorah and Jaime. T-Baby says Jorah and Jaime's gotta go.
Jaime's going. I don't know. They might let Jorah live just to piss you off, T.
I think Jaime's going to be fitted with a obsidian hand. And he's going to be swinging that.
Wouldn't that be awesome? I think they should just make an extended sword from him. I mean, because that is his sword hand. why not just make an extended sword attachment?
Exactly.
I mean, that would just
Exactly.
make more sense to me than him trying
Just
to learn how to fight with his left hand.
get some super glue and tie it
I
on.
know, right?
Something.
You know, maybe they should have got Kyburn to manufacture something.
Lab says she could handle all three. I'm like, oh, come on.
I see you, Lab. See you. I see you, girl.
Oh, she had to blush before she wrote that. I know. Ginger Ale chat at Friday at 5:00. Lab
Let's
will be there.
discuss. Let's
Mhm.
discuss. No, I plan my just this is just off an aside. My plan will be to do ginger ale chats the last either Friday or Saturday of the month. Um
Nice.
just to, so that there's
Keep in
not
touch.
yeah, you know what I mean, for all of us to just come together and just, just act the fool.
Mhm.
Because everybody needs to let their hair down, whether figuratively or literally, and
Definitely
just be,
literally.
you know.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
So,
everybody loves those because you're
but
so serious.
I do want to continue on that same vein that I started with the Baratheon brothers, but this time I want to talk about the Lannister brothers.
Mm, are they?
Yeah, I want to do the first generation, the not, I shouldn't say first generation, but I want to do like Tywin, Tigget, Kevin, uh, um, that crew first, and then get into um, Jamie and Tyrion.
So John asked in the chat, how long have you been reading the books? He said he's been reading since 97, which is the year after the Game of Thrones started. So
No, I actually discovered the books. Actually discovered Game of Thrones in 2011.
mhm.
I believe HBO was doing they were getting ready to do their second season, I believe. And they were doing a marathon of the first season, I
Oh,
believe,
gotcha.
if I'm not mistaken. Um and so I had just got back home from deployment, and so I, was watching TV, and I was watching I happened to be on HBO, and I saw it, and I I saw Sean Bean, and I was like,
Gotcha.
"Oh, Sean Bean." Because I remembered him from Lord of the Rings, because that
Sure.
was the last time I had seen him on it in anything. And so I watched the first episode, and I was like, "This is weird." And so I watched the first episode, and then at the end, when they do their little commentary, I found out that it was a book. And when I found out that it was a book, I went on my iPad and I searched it. And when I found it, I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna download the books." So I
Mhm.
downloaded the books, and I started reading the books and forgot all about the show. I never went back to watch the show. So that's how I discovered the books back in 2011. And it just so happened, once I was finished with those books, Dance of Dragons released, I believe, that summer, I want to say. So I didn't have to wait that long between finishing A Feast for Crows before I started reading A Dance with Dragons. Because I, when I started going online and starting getting into like people, doing videos and about, the books and stuff like that, people were, how people were saying they had to wait like 5 years or
Right.
6 years between each book. I was like, man, that's a long time. And so now I'm understanding what that means, because Dance with Dragons came out in 2011. Here we are in 2019,
Still
still waiting
talking.
for the winter, still
Yep.
waiting for winter. So
So I worked for the cable company Comcast I started in June of 2010, I think it was. And we had an HBO representative that would come and talk to us about all the different benefits of HBO and blah blah blah. And we talked about all the shows and stuff. And whenever they had Rome or Deadwood come out, they would always bring tchotchkes. Whether it be a tin cup or something. And so they brought in their team and talked about Game of Thrones, and I'm like, oh, like you said, Sean Bean. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so guess what? I just said I got to check this out. So by the time I got to um, the first season, I had already done Game of Thrones, but I started on Feast and then just went right through it, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, since I mentioned it, I totally was going to talk about this on the live stream, but Deadwood is going to be a movie this spring,
Yes.
and they have been talking about it forever, like literally 10 years. So this should be interesting.
I'm there front row and center because Deadwood was my jam. Deadwood was my jam. And for those of you in the chat who don't know, I love westerns. I I love good westerns. I
Yeah,
love a
this isn't like any other Western I've ever seen.
no,
Yeah.
no, no.
I wouldn't see it because you like Westerns, but I would definitely recommend it if you're a
A history.
I would say if you like verbal back and forth, really deep writing,
Yeah,
this
that's true. Yeah.
the
It's very provocative, yeah.
when you listen to these people talk, they say one bad word after another, and yet what they end up saying at the end is so profound. You're like,
Found.
wow, that was deep. And I
Especially Swearingen. Swearingen, whose every other word,
who was in Game of Thrones, by the way, Ian
yes.
McShane. He was one of the
He was the
maesters that
brother.
talked Sander.
Yeah. I guess he was supposed to be the brother, the what you call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does a phenomenal job with as Swearingen. Like an absolute phenomenal job. And I absolutely love the Swearingen character in the show. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a bad guy, but I still I still love his character on
You
the
talk
show.
about character arcs from the first episode where he has that family killed to the end where he's
Yeah,
protecting uh, whores, basically,
yeah,
is just amazing. I mean, and the whole time you feel him as he's taking care of this cripple woman through her whole life. I mean, yeah, he verbally beats her up
yeah,
every day, but you know
yes,
he loves her and wouldn't let
yes.
anybody hurt her. So it's really cool.
He doesn't. And I think that just speaks greatly to his character because he doesn't know how to truly show true affection and love other than that is his way of doing it
Hmm.
because he doesn't know any other way, you know? And you just have to be able to see past all the BS to see what where who he truly is and where he truly lies because he's a he's a fucked up individual. Pardon my French. You know what I mean?
It is
He's
true. He
and
he definitely has a
um,
shady past.
he's trying to navigate and try to find some sort of um, purpose and peace in that, you know,
Hmm.
whatever that may be.
Yeah, Heidi says he was good in American Gods. I don't know him from that. I've never watched that that
He is very
show
good in
through
that
the I haven't been able to get through one whole episode. That's the problem. It's kind of like The
show.
Walking Dead for me. I've just not been able to get through it. I've tried, but it
Yeah,
hasn't
I mean,
happened
if
yet.
it ain't for you, it ain't for you. The book itself is pretty good.
Yeah, I've
I
actually
enjoyed
enjoyed
the
the
book.
book much
I
better.
enjoyed the book.
Hmm.
Um, I want to see what this next season brings. How they're gonna tie it off. You know, because they did change a lot. I won't say they changed a lot, but they did change quite a bit from what the book is to what you see on the screen, and that's to be expected because you can only do so much translating
Right.
from book to screen. So
Well, I want to say thank you so much, Monero, for coming on. I don't know if you have anything coming up you'd like to talk about, but if you do, would you say goodbye to everybody and then tell us what's going on with you?
first, thank you for having me on. I truly appreciate you inviting me to come and hang out with you on the interwebs. I want to thank everybody uh, in the stream for coming and kindly listening to me rant I should say rant, but ramble on about this thing that brings us all together, which is the Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire. Um, I truly appreciate that. As for me, I do have um, a reread that I have that will be scheduled to come out tomorrow, um, and probably will have another one in another couple of weeks.
Nice.
And my rereads are summaries of the chapters, and the reason why I chose to do the summary of the chapters is because I know not everybody wants to take the time to read the whole entire book, but if you're interested in, you know, wanting to see what the book perspective is of the story, um, hearing the summary of the chapters might be another alternative. Or if you've already read the books but you don't want to, like, go through the process of rereading the entire book, again, that's what my rereads do. They kind of give you a summary of all of the chapters to you know kind of refresh you on on the story. So at least that was my intent in starting, in doing the reread. Um, and I also do ginger ale chats, which was a happy mistake that blossomed into something else. So if you're it does have a lot of adult content. So if you're not into that, that's probably not for you. But if you are someone who doesn't mind coming in and having adult conversations, um, and having a good time, um, it really is more so for those who come into the stream than it is for me. And it's just a time for me to be able to hang out with,
Yeah, if
people
you
that
like
I
raunchy jokes and nudity
yeah.
and baby oil, yeah, you're gonna be in good company.
you're in
Um,
you're
I think
in
it's a great way to describe it.
Yeah. And that's about it. Again, thank you so much, AU, for having me on today. And thank you to everybody in the chat who came in and participated. Um and I hope to see you guys on the interwebs.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you came on and looking forward to having you on again before the 30 days before the season because we're going to talk so much more. Hopefully it'll be a little bit easier for you to go through all of the characters again. Not so um, painstaking because I know that it was hard for you to go through all of them. But yes, Heidi, baby oil. She definitely will have baby oil on her show. But John, you can troll me anytime. That's I'm glad that you came by. Um, Wednesday afternoon, I've invited T Baby to come on, and hopefully she'll accept my invitation. And I look forward to doing another live stream with T Baby. We haven't done a live stream together in almost 2 years, so thank you, John. I appreciate that. But yeah, hopefully starting around the 1st of March all the way up to the 14th, I'll be starting these every day, and we'll just do an hour or so, and we'll get to know each other and know other creators, and it'll be a lot of fun. We'll get to see the beginning of hopefully a trailer or two. And I just really enjoyed all of this with all the people that have come in today, including my old friend Lavina, who I just have not talked to in forever, and I do apologize for not reaching out any more than I have. And hopefully Lav or Laving Shadow, I should say, will be on as well. Clarissa Thompson is here. Heidi from Costume Co. is a great channel. Linda R. Just all these just great people. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for hanging with us and enjoying the little live stream. Alicia Kingston. Yeah, how can I forget Alicia? My goodness. Hopefully you'll be on the show as well. I know she'll definitely be at Ginger Ale because if there's anybody that creates trouble, it's Alicia. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, she knows how to create trouble. All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for being here. I think I've grown a beard. We've been on so long. So hopefully you guys have a great Sunday, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.